Hi guys, it's Laura. This was something I was moved to share today because, like I said, I'm going to be doing more of this lately. Um, so as a creative, as an artist, as a human, as a parent, and as a business owner now for 5 years, it's like sometimes, right? You want to, yeah, in relationships too. Did I say that too? Like romantic relationships, all these things. I do a lot of reading and studying on these topics. So let's say there's something you really want. I think we all always want something that we're kind of striving towards, reaching towards, and sometimes we can't believe how we don't have it. So, and please pipe in if you have thoughts or comments along the way, because this is really interesting. Hi guys, thanks for stopping by. So, I'm always reading about this stuff, like how to get what I want, because I grew up very much. Hi, Kendra. You know, what I learned growing up was the way to get what I want is to please people and please people and please people enough to get what I want or need. And it's not really the greatest way to get what you want or need, because usually in pleasing them, you're kind of undermining something you want. So here's the thing. I read this amazing book. It was called Free Fall by an amazing woman who I discovered through a podcast, and her name is Sally Anderson. And I'm going to share, I don't know if you know of her and her story. She's incredible. She's from New Zealand, I believe. But here's the thing I wanted to bring up. People pleasing empties your bucket so quickly. Hallelujah. You know, so then you find out you have this like empty ocean bed that was yourself. And you gotta like fill it up. So she said something that sometimes I like to hear and sometimes I'm really upset by hearing. Like we all, if you've heard this, it's definitely either inspired you or upset you, which is the quote that says, whatever you have is what you actually want, is actually what you created. Like a lot of times we'll be like, I did not create this terrible thing when something bothers us. But here's the specific way Sally Anderson says it is, she says, the result you have now is a direct reflection of where your true commitment lies. Okay, and this was something like I did and didn't like to hear. The fact is, when I look at my relationships, hi Karen, like meaning like romantic relationships or work relationships, I was noticing that truly I was so protective of my children and my relationship with my children and my home that I truly did not want the work or the money or the boyfriend as much as I wanted that, like safety and connection and protection around my family. This is the way I'm wired. And also, okay, so I could see that there were things that I said I wanted, hi Matt, that if I allowed myself, and this is the things where I say, don't just think about it, take a pencil and a piece of paper, because if you can journal it out, it's incredible. I never believed in that journaling stuff, and this year I've just filled the volumes of self-discovery. So it's like, what in you doesn't want the thing that you say you want? Like we don't go there. We're so focused on, I want this. Why don't I have it? Well, you may find it's not that hard. If you allow yourself, it's not that hard to make a list of the reasons you don't really want it. And while you might find that a little unpleasant, it's also empowering, because you realize all the good reasons why you haven't taken a certain action, all the good reasons why you're actually protecting you. Okay, this can even go with the weight loss. I think I remember that Sally Anderson used this example, you know, that often someone may say they want to lose the weight, but that they're actually loving the weight, that they want the weight to protect them, to give them a shield. So write down the ways in how not getting what you want is actually showing your true commitment, because there's something you want more than what you say you want. Now don't worry, this might sound like despair to you, may not. It depends where you're at on the particular day. But here's the other beautiful piece of this kind of work. And again, feel free to pipe in if things come up. If you're catching the replay, put #replay so I know you stopped by and I can say hi and you can comment too. All right, so here's the other piece. Because it's not just because, for example, I don't want to have a relationship because I don't know how it's going to interfere with my relationship with my kids. Or I don't want a certain job because I believe it's going to pull me away from my kids. Or I don't want success in my business because I believe it's going to ruin my relationships at home. Like, I don't know, write those crazy thoughts down, even if they seem really untrue or crazy, or they may seem very, very real. There's different kinds of things, but they help you have compassion for yourself, for wanting what you want, and then also for not wanting it. It's okay to recognize it's very powerful, and it will allow you to release it if you can let yourself recognize the ways in which you don't want it and the ways in which you are empowered by not having it. Like, I remember I was indignant when the university kind of let me go right after I had a baby, after 20 years of service. I was like, wait, you can't do that, wait. But at the same time, I saw the university was changing, and I know that I didn't really want to be there anymore. I was kind of done. Okay, so here's the last piece, because this is like an exercise. I think this will be very useful for you. Is once you realize why you don't want what you thought you wanted, or I can also phrase this as once you realize you don't want why you don't want what you do want, the final piece is, what are you afraid, to get really clear, what are you afraid you'll lose? What are you afraid having that thing? Why are you afraid to have the thing that you say you want? Why? Just specific. Write that down. Why are you afraid to have that job, that partner, that money? Okay? Can you let me live stream for 1 minute? Because it's just a second. I tried so The other thing is, now I forget what I was saying. When you realize what you're afraid can happen if you get it. For example, like some people, they swear they want more money, but they don't realize that they have some terrible beliefs about money, either that people with money are jerks, or that people who sell are gross, or that they're not worthy. Like, this is like vacuuming under the bed. This is not, those feelings are in there. It doesn't mean they're true. And it doesn't mean they're permanent, like stains. It's dust bunnies. It's gunk that just needs to be cleared out. So write down those fears, why you're afraid to have the thing that you say you want, just so that those fears aren't hiding somewhere, so you can see them, put light on them, put love on them, recognize them, because when you're aware of them, you can start to they'll loosen some of their hold on you. And then you can, this I learned from teacher Amanda Francis, and I love this. She says, whatever that fear is, just ask yourself, it's usually a belief. So I believe I'm not worthy of da, da, da. And then you can, hi George, ask yourself if the thing you believe is absolutely true. So I can't be a mom and a partner. Okay, that's my fear. I can't possibly have a satisfying relationship with my children and a satisfying relationship with a partner that all works. Write it out, even if it sounds totally kooky, you write it out, and then take a breath. Ask yourself, is that absolutely true? And this is what I love about my teacher, Amanda Francis. She says, the answer is always no. The belief is never ultimately true. Even if it's true in this or that situation, it's never ultimately true. So that gives us room to change the belief. If you give yourself this much room to change your belief, then I can feel it happening right here. I just got a crack where the light came in, and I started to think, well, if I could have a great relationship with my kids and a partner, even if I can't imagine what that looked like, I can already tap into what that would feel like. And in that moment, when I start to feel those feelings, new pathways are being made in your brain. You're starting to break new ground. You're thinking new thoughts and new feelings around what you want that are much more creative than having underlying fears and beliefs under the bed that are clogging up everything. And they can catch fire at any time. So these are exercises in getting to know yourself. So here's one last piece to bring it back to Sally Anderson that I remember she would say, like, we can fall into, hi Karen, a victim story about things that aren't going the way we want. But we always have the choice between the victim story and the empowering version of the same story. I know this is true that my biggest victim stories are also my biggest victor stories. Personally, it's always up to me which way I choose to tell that story to myself. Ultimately, the way you tell it to yourself is the most important version, right? And every time you choose that victim story, you're choosing to see the world through the eyes of someone who is not supported, like divinely supported. And what if you chose to believe that everything is happening for you, not always in ways you can understand? But that turns if a victim story is not an option, and believe me, I have all the compassion in the world because I've had plenty of those times, especially especially over the past 10 years, and then I was like, wait, no, especially over the past 20 years, especially over the past 30 years. I am no immune to any of that, but I actually always have two choices how to tell this story. Right, George? Hey, música. So, allow yourself to make some of those new pathways in your brain. They're not just your brain, it's your heart and your spirit. When you stop and you let yourself tell the victory version of that story, and that you let yourself see how that story actually supported you. Like, for example, how many people broke up with you where you were like, and looking back, you're like, oh my God, why would I ever want to be with someone who didn't want to be with me? They were always doing me a favor, right? Because the person who's going to want to be with me is going to want to be with me like so much. It'll be like completely overwhelming how much they know how wonderful I am. Whereas, would you really want to be with someone who was always like, right? So it's always been happening in your favor. But I know that you can't always access that. So, final wrap up of today's little lesson. Hi, Isla. I miss you. Sorry we're not singing with Gion today. Final wrap up of today's lesson is to say, if there's something you say you want, there's something you think you want, and you're just not able to achieve that thing, allow yourself to see how that serves you, how you've actually created what you want, because in some ways you don't really want it. And so then you can have compassion for yourself, and you even feel more empowered because you can always make new choices. But to be able to say, I choose to be making very little money right now because it's more important to me to have my time or be close to my kids, or, like, why do you not want that thing that you say you want, and allow yourself to not want it for a minute. And be very aware of how you're taking care of yourself, and that you're not a victim, you're a victor. From victim to victor. I've never heard anyone say that, but it must be out there. And then you're not against yourself. Then you're able to be compassionate for yourself and notice the ways you've been literally supporting yourself by not getting what you say you want. Sometimes what you think you want, or what you want, is what you think you should have, or what you think the world wants for you. And if you could realize, yes, gotta take care of self, do for you. And so often, you just say, why can't I get that thing that I want? And I stop and I say, wait a minute, I'm truly, 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 truly doing what I need. And it may not look like I want it to look for everyone else, but actually I'm making the choices I'm making because of what is my true commitment. And that's the Sally Anderson quote. Your result will always show where your true commitment lies. There's no victim stories in Sally Anderson. God will put up roadblocks if it's not for you. Yes, Isla. And that's the thing, guys, is, a lot of different, I like to be open to communities where people are able to express whatever they believe about God. Because even if you say God or don't say God, everyone has their own beliefs about the world, their own worldviews, right? And the underlying concept that I want to bring up today is, are you willing to believe you are supported? Even in the hardest times, are you willing to believe that? Because that affects how you handle the hard times. Because you can either say, I'm being punished because I'm doing it wrong, which is kind of the God I was raised believing in, was more of this like punishing God. So always healing that, which is why a lot of people don't even like the word, because they're still healing from the God they were taught. Okay, but like, oh, wait. I'm loved and supported. Everything is on purpose. Everything is happening in my favor, even when I cannot see it. Yeah. I was actually thinking of someone who's on this podcast today, live stream, because I was reminded of something they told me once. So sometimes, and this is how I promise I'm going to wrap this up in a second. But because I teach drawing, and I find drawing and dance to be such therapeutic things to learn, because when you're learning them, all this stuff comes up because you want to make something beautiful. And when you're challenged in the process, what usually happens is I see people judging their honesty, judging themselves. Whatever line they've made on the paper starts to mean something that's not kind about themselves. And this is how art study can help you clear up, and lighten negative self-talk, because it will come up in that area. And that's why often we don't feel safe becoming artists or expressing ourselves. Sometimes it's because we don't feel safe in the outside world, but sometimes it's because we actually don't feel safe in ourselves. We can't bear to hear the things we're going to start saying to ourselves when we start creating. And literally, the inside voice is the sneakiest one. It's the easiest one to hear, but it's the sneakiest one, because we don't hear it physically. We're so enmeshed with it that we don't realize that voice is not the truth of the world. So when some voice comes up and says, you're doing it wrong, you're out of tune, you're too slow, you're too fast, it's too ugly, it's wrong, we don't want that. So we say we want to draw. We don't want to draw, because that's going to take us someplace that we're not ready to go. We're protecting our heart, and we're being kind to ourselves by not taking that rocky road, that journey to face the negative self-talk and the fears. And so to realize that's okay. Like, you're being kind to yourself by not going there. But if you do start to go after the things that you want, in spite of the ways you were trying to protect yourself, can you still believe you'll be supported and safe and that everything will be happening for you? It's perspective. It's how we frame things. It's how we look at things. And I love the quote from Course in Miracles that a miracle is a change in perception. The moment you change the way you're looking at what you're going through, everything changes. So today, I hope this sheds some light on somebody for something they're going through, because for me, these questions and these subjects are every day. It's every day. It's an everyday practice. And I like that I'm always called back. Yes, Isla. Glass half empty or glass half full. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. There are no accidents. You're saying that. My daughter did the funniest thing the other day. We were at the pizza place and we got a soda and it had a straw in it. And you know when your straw sits in your soda, the part that's out of the soda is empty and the part that's in the soda is full. She somehow took another straw and filled the straw up so that it was sitting in the soda and it was filled with soda all the way up to the tip top. I've never seen that in my life. And I just loved that image of fullness and abundance. And so when you're talking about glass half empty or half full, I just wanted to say whatever it is that you want to call into your life, that you want to create in your life, that you think you're missing from your life right now, that's your desire. It's divinely planted in you. Write it down, love it, honor it. Relationship, job, goal, money, kid, I don't care what it is. But also allow yourself to feel full now. You can want that thing and still be full now. What would full feel like? Like just let yourself you can write on it or just sit and feel it. Maybe not even just full, but overflowing. What would it feel like to be overflowing right now? That's also a little bit of a lesson from Amanda Frances that I've been studying a lot every day, thinking, what would I feel like right now if everything was overflowing? And that's so wonderful because, again, it's the neural pathways. You start to you take those cow paths in your brain, those little trails in the woods, and turn them into superhighways. And it's definitely something I've been experiencing, and I love it. So send you all lots of love and overflowing cups. Yes, Isla? One last thought about a cup that I heard recently was that you can't pour good things into a cup that is already full of limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, hurt, pain, unidentified things, right? Just like I was talking about vacuuming under the bed. You can't pour good things into a cup that is full of gunk. So allow yourself to listen to this whole video. If you just came on, shine light on the things that are filling you up with fears. If you clean them up, allow them out, you can pour in that, invite that wonderful thing into your life that you've been wanting, because nature abhors a vacuum, right? I love you so much, Isla. Thank you for stopping by. Another day on earth. Let's go get them. Bye, guys.